Perfect. Okay, well, welcome everybody to today's first bonus transmission in our NHC Awaken Challenge. I'm really excited about today's topic. It's one of my greatest passions, along with being one of the creators of the NHC program. I'm also a gender intelligence business and relationship coach. I saw so much joy out of that, and it is so relevant to not only the NHC space, but also business mentoring with our NHC ambassadors. And we're going to have a lot of fun and playfulness today. But before we get started, I want to just take a moment for everyone just to ground their energy. So if you can close your eyes down along with me, just find yourself in a comfortable place. One hand on your heart space. You can have one hand on your womb space or palm facing up in receiving mode, whatever feels comfortable for you. And let's just take a few deep breaths. Deep breath in through the nose, just breathing in love, peace, calm, whatever feels good for you, light. And as you exhale, just breathe out any of the chaos of the morning. I don't know if you were like me, but school run mornings can be chaotic sometimes. So deep breath in. And as you exhale, just release any of that tension that isn't serving you. Now, what I want you to bring your mind to as you continue to breathe in and out is I just ask that you be willing to see things differently today, because that is where a space of possibility opens up for growth and evolution. Our structures, our belief systems can greatly limit us, and curiosity expands us. So I'm going to be presenting some information today that may challenge you. It may challenge some of your structures and belief systems. It will certainly challenge the belief systems of society, which have formed many of our own structures. And I'm just going to ask you to try on the information and see what fits. If some of it doesn't fit as your truth, that is completely okay. We're all entitled to different truths, but just be open and curious. And I just want you to take one more deep breath in and relax into this space with me. Well, I cannot wait to get into today's topic. And I just encourage you, if you have any questions or insights or feedback come up along the way, then please just pop them in the chat. I will do my best to keep an eye on that. I am going to be sharing a slideshow. So just to really help the visual learners as well as the auditory learners, it might help with your note taking as well. But I will try my best, or at the end, I can come back to the chat and see if I've missed any questions. Now, I want to set the tone and the scene, because some of the discussion today could potentially be triggering to some of you because of, as I said, society's structures around gender roles. But please know that this is absolutely not my intention at all. This information I'm going to be sharing with you, I wish I had have known it 10, 20 years ago, because it would have made such an incredible impact in my relationships, in my relationship with self, first and foremost, but also how I show up in business. And I want you to know that nothing happens in transformation until we see how we contributed to the problems in our lives. Because the thing is we can only control ourselves, right? So on that note, I encourage you not to go to your partner or your business partners after this call and start pointing your finger and shaming and blaming and telling them what they need to do. You shift, and everything in your environment will shift around you. You're the one who can empower yourself and control yourself. And you may learn down the track ways to initiate some, asking or some suggestions in a way that is really influential and inspiring for your partner, rather than blaming and shaming them. So let me know in the chat right now if you are game enough, confident enough, or have the courage just to share a little vulnerability. I'm sure we're all going to feel the same things. But what is the greatest frustration in your relationship right now? Let me know in the chat. Where do you feel frustrated? And it could be in any relationship. It may not be with your significant other, but what is your greatest challenge right now? Not feeling appreciated. That is a big one that so many women share, and we're going to talk about that. Communication, again, a really, really big one. Lack of support, inconsistency. Now, the good news is none of this is a surprise to me. And all of this information is going to be in the seminar today. And the other good news is there are some simple strategies to overcome these feelings that are causing disconnect and resentment kills passion. So we're going to talk about how you can flip the switch on this, okay? And so what about business? What are some of your greatest challenges in business? Isn't it amazing how we all feel, similar ways, our frustrations in relationships? Because I'm going to take a guess. I can't see everyone's faces, but my assumption is we're almost all, if not all, women on here today. Welcome any men if there's any men. I haven't seen any faces as yet. Consistency in business, big one for the feminine. Not getting self-doubt, overwhelm, and it doesn't matter what business you're in, self-doubt, fatigue. Again, none of these come as a surprise. And the good news is you're going to have some aha moments today, I hope, that is going to help you with some more self-awareness so you feel empowered in these areas. Okay. So again, I want to set the tone. We are going to shine a light on self-awareness, self-love, and self-responsibility. This is no blame projection, right? And we're going to talk about why the most important relationship you have is the one that you have with yourself. We're going to talk about gender intelligence basics, why it's important to know them, and how you can use this information to create immediate transformation in your life, in your relationships, and in your business, and really create more harmony and connection in those areas. We're going to talk about how stress and resentment is killing passion in our relationships and how we can hack our hormones to overcome this. We're going to be talking about harmonizing business with the blurred gender roles we have in our society today, and how we can be feminine women and still thrive in business and relationships. It is my belief that we are not thriving to our greatest potential right now because of blurred gender roles and a lack of awareness of our biology. So that's what we're going to be focused on. Now, before we dive into this, which we're going to now, please know that I'm doing my best to hold all of you in this space. It is only my intention to love and serve. If I use language that you feel hasn't honored you and how you, just in general, that you feel that I haven't honored you, please keep your heart open to the information, okay? My experience, my expertise is I am a feminine woman. That's how I identify, and I've only been in a relationship with men. So when I talk about men and women, okay, we're talking about biology. Regardless of sexual orientation, the biology applies, okay? And so if you happen to not be in relationship with men as a woman, you can still apply this information to same gender relationships, okay? But as I said, my expertise is women in relationship with men, okay? So let's keep it lighthearted, and please know that my intention is to serve all of you to the best of my capacity, okay? Are we all in agreement and okay with that? All right, perfect. Okay, so I am going to share my screen with a slideshow so that I can get these visuals up for you. All right. Everybody see that okay? Now, I can't see the chat to that if I miss anything important. All right. So let's get into this. What is gender intelligence? So gender intelligence is the ability to understand the distinguishing characteristics of males and females beyond that of physical and cultural to include their innate behavioral differences. It is a level of consciousness that values and recognizes gender difference in conduct, rationalizations, thinking, and actions, and as a result, enables gender-aware individuals to engage confidently and effectively with members of the opposite gender in social, relational, and workplace settings. The foundation of gender intelligence is scientific validation of the differences between the functioning of the brains of men and women from a biological viewpoint. John Gray is bringing this research to the world through his best-selling Mars Venus book. So John Gray is like probably the most world-renowned relationship coach. And a lot of his coaching is based on this scientific research, and it's very enlightening and very empowering, okay? So this is not about energy. This is about brain and hormone differences that we are born with, Okay. And what's so beautiful about it is its simplicity and how you can apply this information so simply once you understand it. So understanding, accepting, and appreciating our differences is the first step to creating safety and harmony in a relationship. So it is my belief that one of the greatest challenges in relationships and business today is women think that men are just hairy women. We expect them to behave like women. And when we don't, we're so confused and frustrated. And we're literally telling them what is wrong with you when they don't respond the way that we would respond. And vice versa, right? What gender intelligence does is changes everything. It changes his perception that, oh, she's crazy, to she's just being a woman. And this is her normal biological response. And now I know how I can show up in support of this, right? So scientifically, our brains are very different. And when we stop personalizing it, we can work in collaboration with each other and really amplify our superpowers and start appreciating our differences and why we have those differences. Okay. Now, I am so grateful that as an independent woman, like financially, I have all of this success that I've created. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I've created that safety for myself in the world that we live in today. But we have to understand that this whole feminine movement and women rising and equality, although there's so many pluses to it, there are always as many equal minuses. And as women have shifted and essentially really been the leaders of blurring these gender roles, it has come at a cost. It has come at a cost, right? And if we're willing to pay the price, that's completely okay. But let's be aware of what the price is so that we can harmonize that better. Does that make sense? So again, regardless of sexual orientation, we're talking about biology and on this call, our biology for all of us, we are women, okay? And so please just allow that to apply. Okay. So let's start talking about a few of the gender differences. So in women, we're going to talk about the brain to begin with. In women, language centers are located in 6 centers in both hemispheres of the brain, the left and right. We have language centers. Okay, so we run circles around men with our language, right? We talk. We love to talk. We need to talk. Talk is a stress reliever for women. The way we problem solve is through talking it out. Women have almost 10 times the white matter than what men do. So this is the collecting data part of the brain. And this comes from us being gatherers. We need to know what berries are poisonous, where are they located, next to which stream. You know, those poisonous berries, they're never next to the stream, not the ones with the round leaves, the ones with the pointy leaves. And we need to be able to share all of this data to the other gatherers, right? So that's our superpower, is collecting data. The corpus callosum, the nerves that enable crosstalk between the left and right hemisphere of the brain, are 4 times bigger in women. So women have super highways that connect the left and right. Men have dirt roads. Now, the significance of this is a woman can think and feel at the same time at a superpower level, thinking and feeling and thinking and talking. All at the same time, think, feel, talk. Men are incredibly overwhelmed by our ability to do that. They generally are thinking or feeling. And if they're thinking, they're not really using language. And if they're feeling, it's hard for them to use language, right? They're very single focused. So during states of stress, the limbic system is activated, which is associated with the emotional center of the brain. Women are hardwired for emotion. That's why in stressful states, we tend to get emotional. We are hardwired, our monkey brain, our cave woman inside of us. It's unavoidable. It's who we are. Now, this is significant. Women produce half the amount of serotonin as men, and we use it twice as fast. Now, to understand the significance of that, this is our happy chemical. And this may explain why, in general, men tend to be more happy-go-lucky. less highly strung. We use it twice as fast and we only make half the amount. It's incredibly significant. Now let's talk about men. Men only have 2 language centers and are located in only the left hemisphere. Men have 6.5 times as much gray matter as women do, and this is the decision-making part of the brain. This is why men tend to be or historically have been in leadership positions, because they can make leadership fast decisions without emotion. And that's why sometimes we can think, why are you so cold? How come you're not considering this? They're very logical. During states of stress, increased blood flow goes to the left orbitofrontal cortex, which activates the fight or flight action response. When a woman is stressed, she becomes emotional and she needs to talk more. When a man is stressed, he will either fight or take flight. And this is why it tends, not always, women tend to have attachment style in their arguing, the need for him to stay and to hear her and to validate her and to hold her emotion and maybe even physically hold her. Whereas all men want to do typically is avoid, take flight. That we are wired for this. Okay, so what does all this mean? For women, a woman's brain is designed for multitasking. That's our superpower. We can think, feel, talk, take care of 10 kids, run a business, clean the house, cook dinner. Like, we can do it all at once. Women can think and feel simultaneously. That's why we are manifestation creatures, right? We have creation superpowers because manifestation is all about thinking and feeling the vibration. Women store memory and emotion together. This is incredibly significant. It's why we can recall everything our partner has ever done since the beginning of time to wrong us, to hurt us, because when we feel that emotion, we remember every other time we've felt that emotion. Women want to understand the dynamics of a problem before making a decision. So we need to collect all the data before we feel safe to make a decision. Women connect with and bring into play past memories more vividly than men. Women are feeling creatures, men are not. Okay, so when we are emotional and stressed, as I said, we remember everything since the beginning of time. Okay, so what does this mean for men? A man's brain is highly, highly specialized for single focused tasks. They are designed for taking action. Imagine hundreds of years ago if men felt emotional whilst hunting. That wouldn't have ended well for the community, right? So this is why they are very single focused. Men cannot connect thoughts and feelings as readily as women. I remember so many times in past relationships being like, feel me, you're not feeling me. Like, what is wrong with you? And this is where I wish I knew this information in my past, because now I realize there was nothing wrong. All the men in my relationships were just being men and I was just being a woman, and we just didn't understand those individual needs. Okay. And I know in my current relationship now, with this awareness, I can securely allow my partner to take time out, to breathe, to think about it. And he always comes back resourced and able to communicate his feelings once he's had time to think about them. But during conflict, he's even verbalized to me, you're just so incredible with your language and communicating and expressing how you feel, and I just can't keep up. I just need to go away and think about it, right? And so you allow each other the safety to do what you need. And then they return the favor in when everyone's regulated, being able to really hear you. And now it can land because they've had a chance to think about it. Men separate information from emotion, which is incredibly important. You think about the hero instinct when men, this is why men have the capacity to have the hero instinct, because he can throw himself in front of a bus to save a child before stopping to think about the emotion of it. Men make quicker decisions, not better or worse, just quicker. Men need time out to feel and process their feelings, right? This is something women take so personally. Let me know in the chat if you can resonate that in the past you've taken it so personally that your partner has just left, or he has just continued to reiterate he just needs time out. And we think we're being deserted, abandoned. Our abandonment wounds get triggered, which he's not responsible for, but we make him responsible for. Men get annoyed when interrupted. Imagine this, how this comes up in today's world is our partner may be working on a task or, in the office, working on something in his business, and we come in wanting to connect, to be seen, to be heard, and he gets frustrated because he's pulled off focus. Now, the equivalent of that to hunter-gatherer days would be, imagine that he's behind the bush and he's about to spear the prey that he's hunting, and then you interrupt him. That's the equivalent of how he feels in level of frustration. A man's brain is not smaller, okay? It may sound like I'm saying women are amazing and what's wrong with men. That is not the case at all. Men are highly specialized. We are equal opposites. We are designed to complement each other. We are designed to complement, not battle it out. Who's the better sex? Who can do it all? In truth, women have the capacity to do it all, but when we do, there is a minus effect on our biology. So this also accounts for, as I said, the hero instinct. We talked about that. Imagine if both men and women got emotional during stressful times. That wouldn't work out well for us in society, not just relationships. So our greatest challenge is men and women cope with stress differently, and our differences intensify the stress we feel in the moment. So now I want to share some basic hormone differences with you and how understanding this can help us hack those hormones to achieve greater harmony and connection. Okay. And the brain differences and hormone differences is really what the gender intelligence basics come down to. So let's talk about first some universal complaints of women and men. And ladies, you said exactly this, right? You're not special and unique. We all feel the same way. Women, I have to juggle so many things and my partner doesn't seem to care or want to help. We both go to work. When we get home, my partner doesn't pitch in equally. My partner sits in front of the TV while I do everything. I feel like a personal maid. We never have time for romance. My partner is either watching TV, sleeping, working, or gone. Who can resonate with these complaints as a woman? Hand up. Have you ever felt any of those things or something similar? Men, she's never happy. When I offer help, she always finds something wrong with my suggestions, so why bother? Who is guilty of critiquing their partner when they've tried to help? Right? If your hand isn't up, you are lying. She always has something new to complain about. She wants everything done right now. Who's guilty of that? Right? I'll give you a secret. The reason for this is we don't have the ability to shut our mind down like a man. Everything in our environment is screaming at us. We can't watch TV after dinner and relax like our partner has because the dishes are screaming at us. The washing downstairs is screaming at us. And men need to understand that this is part of a woman's biology, is we can't shut down from our responsibilities, and that's why we need it done right now. And on the other side, women learn to need to just let go of some of the things and stop trying to control everything, and then we meet in the middle, right? When I'm in the mood, she's either too tired or overwhelmed doing other things. And we're going to talk about that too. Okay, so why are we so stressed today? Stress is a real foundation of what we're going to talk about today. It's because we have so many unrealistic expectations on women and men, right? We tend to, as women, focus so much on ours, but men actually have an equivalent of unreasonable expectations today. So women today have 2 times the burden that our grandmothers did. Not only are we now working independent women, but typically, not always, but typically we really have that responsibility for being the homemaker. And even when our partners do help out, we still carry the burden that it's our responsibility, right? Who feels that a bit? Like, my partner is amazing. He totally chips in with his share, but I still feel that responsibility, right? And so the reason for the unrealistic expectations is the June Cleaver effect. I don't know if you guys remember this. I think it was maybe the 70s, maybe it was the 60s, but the perfect housewife, homemaker, where the husband comes home, the kids are clean and bathed, and dinner, you know, roast dinners on the table, the house is clean, and you're just ready to serve, right? And this now, with society's expectations, what we've laid on that is to have the perfect body, to be that sexy goddess, you know, that playful feminine spirit when the husband comes home. But also now the blurred gender roles, that we're also expected to be an equal provider, right? Who has felt this in relationships? That like you're expected to be like a 50% contributor in the providing also. So there's a never-ending to-do list and feeling a lack of spousal support for women. Men also have expectations to be romantic, handsome, emotionally intelligent, a provider, to also be a home contributor. So like the George Clooney effect, right? So men are also struggling with these demands of perfection. And this creates even more stress for both sexes. So stress causes elevated stress hormones, typically cortisol, particularly cortisol and adrenaline. Cortisol currently is the most researched hormone. This is our danger hormone, okay? These hormones are designed to help you get out of danger, but they're only designed to be spiked for 5 to 15 minutes at a time and sporadically. But in the current existence that we live in, we are spiking them all day, every day. And this is why so many of the women I work with have complete adrenal fatigue. Okay. And this also, once your cortisol spikes, it's a seesaw effect with testosterone for men and oxytocin for women. And testosterone for men and oxytocin for women are our stress relievers, our feel-good hormones. It's what creates desire, passion, fulfillment, love, connection. So they're really important hormones to keep peaking, right? But we keep pushing them down every day. So when all our energy is focused on stress response, fight or flight, cortisol injection, it weakens our immune system, which causes our digestion to shut down. So when blood flow is directed away from your digestion to help you get out of danger, what happens is we get headaches, we feel fatigued, our sexual desire plummets, cancer rates go up, heart disease rates go up, fat storage goes up, a big one with cortisol. Women I work with, I can't lose weight, I'm doing everything right. A lot of the time it will be in relation to high cortisol levels in the blood, which promotes fat storage, especially around the midsection. So if you carry your weight around here, then potentially you're looking at an imbalance in your hormones with that. So most of the women I work with also tend to have issues with their thyroid, poor digestion, those kind of challenges. And this can be related back to this information. Okay, so understanding the key importance of testosterone and oxytocin and how they impact our behaviors. Testosterone, men with high testosterone are happy men, and women with high oxytocin are happy women. Happy people create happy relationships. They also create happy dynamic businesses. Okay, really important. And understanding that you are 90% responsible for that and in control of that. So let's talk about how we can control this and bring more harmony and balance. How men cope with stress: they go into shutdown mode, they go into man cave mode, they go into fight or flight. So blood flow goes to the part of the brain that activates fight or flight. Okay, so he's either going to fight with you or he's going to run away. If he is emotionally intelligent, right, then he is going to flee the situation to bring regulation so that he can meet with you in a non-threatening way. He's not going to stand and fight with you with all that testosterone in his system. Okay, so know that this is him respecting you and himself. It's not him disrespecting you or abandoning you, okay? And let me know, because for me, this helped me understand a lifetime of relationship challenges, right? Because my triggers in the past, like most women, were around abandonment wounds, and then I would project all of that past responsibility onto the present partner. And so this was a big aha moment for me. The other thing I would express here is when you give your partner the freedom to remove himself from conflict in order to self-regulate and think and feel, so that he can come back and meet you and be on the same level with his ability to communicate, because most men in the moment won't match you in your capacity to communicate readily. But when he comes back, one of the things women do, they tend to do, is to talk and talk and talk over him. We still can talk circles over men, right? Because we have all of those language centers. But when we jump in, it makes him feel attacked and like he just wants to give up, and why bother? And again, can you think of a time that you've done this, where he's come back, he's ready and open to share, but you just can't help yourself but to keep jumping over him? Right? And so this is where you just need to learn to zip it up, be quiet, just let him share and talk. And even when there's silence, be silent even longer, because the more time you give him, the more you allow his feelings to come up so that he can express them. But every time you talk over him, you block his capacity to feel and then communicate. He's not able to do them simultaneously like we are. And now, again, I encourage you, you can either judge that, you can blame and shame, or say, nah, F that, like he should, they should, or you can just accept our differences and show up in a way that supports them and encourages harmony and connection, okay? All right. How women cope with stress. Stress activates that limbic system, so that emotional center. So women are driven to connect. She leans in. She wants to be heard, okay? She needs to talk. She needs to express her emotions. This drives men freaking crazy. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't give space for you to be heard. Absolutely. And this is something you set up a structure in your relationship where you communicate, hey, when would be a good time? When would you have 10 minutes so I can just sit there and you can be a trash can for all of my emotions? I don't need you to fix anything. I just need you to hear me out. Just be the trash can. Set him up to win, right? So often women set their partners up to fail. Can you resonate with that? It's like you literally set them up to fail so you can prove yourself right. But would you prefer to be right, or would you prefer to be in love? Are you going to be loyal to your past triggers and pain and being right? Or are you going to be loyal to love and connection and joy in your future? You literally get the choice, right? So we seek out relationship during challenge. Now, this is fine if you're the one having a challenge outside of the relationship. Generally, your partner will be willing to hold that. But if you're locked in a battle together, you have opposing needs. So how can you honor each other in the moment? Another thing a woman will need to do is ask lots of questions. And we're also driven to share every detail. This is every detail of how your action caused me to feel. And you need to know every single side of it. And until I've expressed every single word that's in my head, I can't relax. And again, that's driven from our gathering days where we explicitly had to share every single detail about the berry bush that has the berries that aren't poisonous. And we can't relax until we know it's fully landed. So this knowledge can be a source of stress for you or comfort. For me, when I stopped trying to make my partner be more like me, I started appreciating our differences, and it became an absolute game changer. Who's finding this valuable and insightful so far? Okay, so let's talk about the importance of testosterone in men, okay? Because as we respond to stress differently, it's because of these hormones and the seesawing effect. Remember, cortisol goes up, testosterone, oxytocin goes down. So for a man, the testosterone peaks in the morning. So often men will be more receptive to intimacy in the morning for this reason, especially the older he gets. When he wakes, as I said, it's at his highest point. It depletes during the day. So working, hunting, providing, problem solving, fixing, all pulls from his testosterone stores. He needs time to recover, to rebuild. So when he comes home, this is why he will be driven to go to the man cave. This is how he rebuilds. Okay. So for a woman, leaving a man alone is often the best way to support him. And this is hard for women to understand because we need the opposite for our oxytocin. So not being needy or pushing to talk, which is what we often do, can be really important to help him come back to balance where he is at his best to respond. Okay. And so another reason, as I stated before, why we don't understand, what are you doing when they're laying on the couch? Like, what are you doing? Look at all these things that need to be done. How on earth can you not be stressed laying on the couch right now? It's because that would make us feel more stressed because we're opposites. Okay. Our brain is screaming at us all of these things that need to be done. Okay. So, how do men recover with their testosterone? Any mindless activity. It has to be a mindless activity. So also success and anticipation of success in a relationship. When a man repeatedly comes home from work and walks through the door and begins to be conditioned that you're not happy and you've always got something to complain about and you're going to be pissed off, he will look for reasons to prolong when he comes home. He will withdraw from you. He will stop trying to make you happy because nothing he does works. So one thing a woman can do is to really condition herself to be warm and inviting, regardless of what has happened during her day or in the relationship. Now, this is not dishonoring you and your needs. It's being regulated and getting your partner in a regulated state so that when it is appropriate to communicate your needs and what's happening in your world and what maybe didn't land for you in his behavior, you're doing this at a moment where you both can receive and hold each other in communication. Okay. Like jumping on him the second he walks through the door is a dishonoring to yourself and him. So forgetting the problem even momentarily. So this is why they engage in TV watching and going into his cave. Another thing is boy time. So you really need to encourage time out with the boys and vice versa. He needs to set you up for success for girl time because that's what helps your oxytocin. So if you give him time to just rebuild, he will re-emerge, right? But this is the thing about men, is they're really trainable. And if you have trained your man to be lazy and to ignore you, then it will take time to reverse that. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about women, oxytocin in women. So this is our love and nurture hormone. Okay, it reduces cortisone, blood pressure, states of fear and anxiety. It creates a feeling of attachment. One way that oxytocin is released is during orgasm. And this is why women typically are not good at like one night stands or multiple partners. Most women will say, I can't date more than one man at a time, because when that oxytocin is released, it creates attachment bonds for the woman. And so they tend to fall in love and get attached really quickly. It increases maternal behavior, sexual and sexual interest. So when a man stimulates oxytocin in his partner, she becomes more receptive to him. And this is going to be one of the tips we talk about is, you know, men are not winning with women because they stop doing the things that build that oxytocin and makes her feel receptive towards him. She feels more connected and bonded. And a lot of men don't understand this secret, okay, to getting more of what he wants is by giving her more of what she needs. So oxytocin decreases when we're feeling alone, ignored, unsupported, unimportant, rushed, and overwhelmed, which is very prevalent for almost all women. One of the biggest problems, especially women who are working as well. Testosterone generating activities at work. Okay, so unless the environment is oxytocin producing, such is the workspace that I coexist in with a lot of the women on this call, it's very nurturing of the feminine. Corporate is testosterone producing in women. And here's another key distinct thing to understand is As a woman, when you raise your testosterone, you actually feminize your man. You raise testosterone, you by default raise his estrogen. His body responds to your body. And this is why it's important. It's not to say you shouldn't do that or you can't do that. It's understanding the cost and then understanding the transition time so it doesn't cost you. Shaking off that energy, doing something to put you back in your feminine when you come through the door and meet with your partner, if you desire to be in partnership with a masculine man. It's just transition time, right? So returning home after work further depletes oxytocin, especially corporate women, because they've got more tasks, more expectations. They haven't finished their work for the day. So it just goes down and down and down, okay? There was a study done on women and men in the corporate workforce. On average, the lifespan of a woman is around the 5-year mark. And for a man, it's 20 plus years. And it's because their biology, men's biology, is more in sync with that kind of workplace to cope with the stress and the demands. Whereas women tend to fatigue their adrenals and they burn out because biologically it's not supportive of their feminine nature. Sexual chemistry and polarity is lost when this happens as well. So if you think about polarity or sexual chemistry in your relationship, if you feel like you have lost that over time, part of that, there'll be several reasons for this, and we're going to talk about some of them, but another part of that may be that you've crossed into your masculine, which has pushed him more in his feminine. So if you think of polarity as a rubber band, they need to pull away from each other to create sexual tension. So the more that you can ease back and lean into your feminine nature when you're in the presence of a masculine man, the more you will drive up his masculine, the more you will bring back that sexual chemistry. So generally a man comes home and goes to his cave, where a woman comes home, she cooks, she cleans, she attends to her husband, she just can't relax, okay? So how do we increase oxytocin? With trust and anticipation of needs being met. So just like men, the anticipation that you're going to be happy helps his testosterone. Your anticipation that you can trust your partner and your needs are going to be met, just the thought of it alone can boost your oxytocin. Conversations or show of support, talking boosts oxytocin, men just being able to listen to you. The appreciation that many women acknowledged was lacking for them will boost oxytocin. Non-sexual touch, long sweeping motions on the body drives up oxytocin. But if you're not in the mood, it needs to be without expectation, that you don't feel that he expects it to lead somewhere. Hugs, cuddles, he gets home from work, he seeks you out. One of the non-negotiables in our household, as soon as you get home, you come and find me and you give me a kiss and a cuddle and just, you know, have that show of love, that acknowledgement, that deep interest and care for each other. Orgasm and breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is one of the highest oxytocin producers. That's why if you've breastfed, you will know that overwhelming surge of connection and love, which is probably the highest state of love and bonding you've ever experienced in your life, will be through breastfeeding. It increases when helping, caring, sharing, or befriending without expectations. That's where our beautiful business model is so servant to women, because we are caring, we're sharing, we're, you know, in sisterhood with each other, and we show up in our gifts without expecting an exchange of energy. This serves our oxytocin. It increases, this is a key benefit, it increases twice as much during self-nurture. How many women don't feel worthy of taking time for themselves? They feel like they need permission. They don't have the self-worth to go, you know what? I'm scheduling half an hour for myself today. I'm scheduling a girls' weekend away. Guess what? If you weren't here, husband would figure it out. Men are quite capable of looking after the kids while you take time out. But you get what you expect. And you get what you give. If you're unwilling to give in the relationship, him time, where you celebrate his time out, then he's going to feel resentful of doing the same for you. How do you show up in support of each other? You're both capable of the support. A lot of women like to feel the sense of importance that no one can do it like her. So how could she ever possibly leave the kids? I promise you, you're setting everyone up for failure by that self-serving, self-significant belief structure is my truth. Okay, try that on, see how it fits. So one of the number one ways for women to relieve stress is using lots of words. A complaint for women is that men don't listen, they just want to fix things. And this will be one of the greatest lessons for the man or partner in your life to learn, is the ability to hold space and just listen, just be the trash can, don't take it personally, and do not try to fix it. We need to get them out. It's how we bring our stress down and raise our oxytocin. A woman's greatest challenge is caring for herself as much as others. Okay. When you don't have to look outside yourself for happiness, this is when you are truly free. So many of the experiences I have with helping and coaching people is the looking outside of themselves for happiness. Your partner will never make you happy. It was never their responsibility to make you happy. And the minute you thought it was, your relationship was doomed. One of our greatest challenges is we don't know how to ask for help, and we don't invest in our own happiness. We are these self-sacrificing creatures, and we think that that is an honorable thing to do. But if our cup is not full, how can we overflow into our family and our relationship? So we don't know how to ask for help, yet men need to feel needed. It's one of the highest needs of a man, is to feel needed. Guess what? How many years have we been telling men, we don't need you? We don't need men. We can do everything. We have destroyed the fabric of our society, in my belief. Now, have we gained and have we won, and has it been important? Yes. But as I said, there has been a great cost. Men are not showing up as kings. I don't know how many women on here are in the dating scene. We have trained them to not respect us. They used to honor us. They held the door open in honor of us, not because we weren't perfectly capable of holding the door open ourselves. And for as long as we keep telling men we don't need you, we can do it ourselves, they're going to sit back and let us do it ourselves. But why would we want to hold all of that responsibility? We don't, like, I know I can. I don't need to prove it to myself. I remember sharing something on social media several years ago. I bought this new office chair and it arrived when my partner was away on a business trip, and I was all excited to set up my office. And I just was doing a humorous post, like, got to wait for, hubby to come home and do this. And someone responded with, you can do it yourself. And I'm like, yeah, I know I can. But there's a man who's perfectly happy, and not only happy, but it serves our relationship for him to be able to do that for me and to feel like a man in my presence. So yeah, I can, but I don't need to prove anything to myself. We need to stop trying to prove to ourselves that we're capable. We need to bring that harmony back into our relationship, to give trust. And when you trust yourself, this is the key distinction, right? Because some men are not trustworthy. I agree. And it can feel scary as the smaller, weaker sex. Biologically, even a man the same size as me will be significantly stronger than me because of his muscle mass. Even a man who is smaller than me. So yes, some men are not safe. But when you trust yourself and you work on relationship to self, let's come back to that. The most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. When you trust yourself, you put yourself in situations with people who are trustworthy. And this is where you can surrender into your feminine, because the man you're with will safely hold you. And you no longer have to prove your worth. You no longer have to prove your capabilities, your ability to do everything that a man does. And you can start coexisting in collaboration with each other. And this would apply to a same-sex dynamic as well. Trust yourself. Learn to trust yourself and your instincts, and you will be in the presence of people who are worthy of your presence. And you will know when to leave and when to stay. So asking men for help, that was a tangent, actually raises his testosterone. Asking a man for help raises his testosterone and your oxytocin at the same time. Being taken care of raises a woman's oxytocin, but we have to provide opportunities. He wants to be your hero. You have to let him. I leave tasks around the house that I could do myself, but it's easier for him to do because of his strength. And it sustains polarity in our relationship. I consciously do that. Sometimes it's annoying because I think I could have done that myself and I really want it done now. And I have to lean back, give him space. Otherwise I train him that I don't need him and I'll do everything. And men will be lazy if you let them, right? And they'll probably admit that. Also, when we become the hero, we plummet his testosterone. When we keep overriding him and being the hero and being the masculine and being the challenger, one of my relationship commitments that I read every day is I challenge my partner only by challenging myself. I bring myself into my highest self, and that energy will challenge him to do the same, but I don't openly challenge him in a way that demasculates him. Doesn't mean that I don't share, that I'm very forward, and he will attest to the fact that I'm incredibly forward with my communication and how I feel and what I think, and if I'm happy or not. This is not about being submissive at all. Please don't confuse the two. But when we become the hero, we create the very thing that we do not desire, which is a feminized man. And coming back to that polarity band that I spoke about. So I just want to quickly state that if you are dating right now, become happy before you date. Become happy before you date, because men choose women who are already happy, especially men who have gone through a divorce and they're in their 40s. The bitter, unhappy, unfeminine woman is not going to be appealing to a masculine man. He's probably been there, done that, right? We all go through this growth journey, me included. It took a long time for me to learn personal freedom and to lean back into my femininity and feel safe in myself in order to create a safe relationship. Be happy before you date. You are responsible for your happiness. Set your partners up to win with that. Okay, so let's talk about a few key things to do. I'm just going to check the time. All right, we may go, this is recorded. So if you have a problem. So filling up your oxytocin. Okay, so do not rely on your partner to raise your oxytocin. You have to run the bath. You have to create girl time. You have to put yourself first. It is your job to make you happy, and it is your partner's job only to make you happier. You are 90% responsible. The biggest gift you can give your relationship is to take responsibility for your happiness. I have a list of 100 things you can do to raise oxytocin, and I will pop this link into the group that you can download. But here's a few quick ones. Do something nice for yourself or others. Service to others, giving to others increases oxytocin. That's what I love about our business and why I always feel this like high energy and emotional revenue. Plan a special occasion. Dance. Movement creates oxytocin, but you know, who remembers getting told they can't dance in their childhood, and so now they're in this body that is so inflexible and unable to move. Bring back flow before your partner comes home. Put on the self-ignited playlist and just dance, be silly, be playful, bring flow back into your body. This will put you back in your feminine side. Masculine is structured, feminine is flow. The more inflexible you are and structured in your thinking, the more masculine you're going to come across in your energy. Coffee date with girlfriend. Ranting, raving, laughing, having fun, playing with your girlfriends will supercharge your oxytocin because you bounce your oxytocin off each other. Asking for help, creating. So whether it's cooking, art, some kind of art and craft. In my program, I get creative. There's so many different ways that you can create. Goddess time. So you might call this queen time, goddess time, sacred time. 10 to 15 minutes a day, light some incense, put on a playlist, light a candle, meditate, dance, do deep breathing, journal, have a sacred space where you fill with beautiful things, smells, sounds. This will get your feminine flowing and ground you. Running a bath, hiring a coach, right? Asking for help. When you push yourself for the resentment you feel, you will feel resentment when you do that. Dance for you, play for you, let your feminine essence bloom for you. It is your nature, and this is where you will find your happiness if you're a feminine woman and you identify that way. Okay, so what can he do? Men need to keep doing what they did at the beginning of a relationship, right? He thinks, right? This is how a man's simple brain works. He did all these things in the beginning. It boosted your oxytocin. He got the most superb, supreme, feminine, gorgeous version of you that he was ever going to get because he did all of these oxytocin things, right? But how a man's brain works is I've won her now. Now she's mine. I no longer need to do these things, and I'm going to get on with providing and protecting. And that's now my focus. He thinks he scores more points going to work every day and providing than he ever did with all of the romantic things he did in the beginning. Okay. He doesn't understand that he succeeded because of all the things he did in the beginning. He succeeded in making you happy because he was influencing your hormones by doing those actions. So she needs these often, right, to sustain her oxytocin, which sustains the honeymoon phase forever. Who would love to live in honeymoon phase forever? In business and relationships, definitely me, okay? And so we need to consciously do things in order to achieve this. It's easy to win points with women. Men and women score points differently. This is how a man scores points. I brought her home a rose, that's 1 point. I bought her a house, that's 2 million points, and that should last a lifetime. I'm generalizing, okay? You may be the other way around in your relationship. He thinks the big things scores points big. This is how a woman works. He brought me 100 roses, 1 point. He picked a rose from the garden, 1 point. He went to work and provided this week, 1 point. He came home immediately after work and he's faithful to me, 1 point. He noticed that I looked beautiful today, 1 point. Women only give 1 point. And we need the points every day. When he says, he thinks I told her she was beautiful a month ago, she must know that I think she's beautiful. She thinks he hasn't told me I'm beautiful today. He mustn't think I'm beautiful. He's in minus points. I'm resentful now. Look at all these things I've done for him. 1 point, 1 point. I ironed his clothes in the morning, 1 point. I made him breakfast, 1 point. I made him lunch, 1 point. I messaged to see how his day was, 1 point. He had dinner when he walked through the door, 1 point. I cleaned the bedroom, 1 point. I cleaned the house, 1 point. I'm looking after the kids, 1 point. We are outscoring men every day in our point system, and that creates resentment. He very easily makes sure that he's matching you where you can fulfill each other's needs at an equal level, right? And as I said, you're responsible to do the same for him. Give him time out, encourage him to have time out with the boys, make him feel needed and appreciated. Don't close off to him sexually. Like, we're going to talk about some of those things in a second. But what your partner can do is hug her 4 times a day. Make sure at least 4 times a day you hug her. Leave her a note. Take her on a date. Give her a flower. Notice her. Non-sexual touch. So touching her not just when you want intimacy. Making her feel seen. Reminding her every day of your attraction and desire for her. So complimenting her. Listening to her. Holding space for her. Giving her a spa day. Running the bath. Helping. So men are logical and they assume that we would ask if we needed help. Okay, but we need to learn to ask and then reward that behavior when they do help us. Stop criticizing and beating him down if he didn't get it right, and just reward the fact that he got up and helped you. Stop telling him what isn't working and focusing what is. So one of the things I do is really verbally appreciate all of the things my partner does that feel good to me, rather than only criticizing the things that don't. Reinforce the things that feel good and he will feel driven to do more of them. So these behaviors from a man will, you will generally cultivate a receptive, happy, open, and feminine woman whose resentment goes down, which will increase passion in the relationship. When oxytocin is high, this is profound. This is so profound. I want you to open your heart and your mind to hear this. When oxytocin is high, it is impossible, energetically, biologically, emotionally, impossible to feel resentment. You cannot feel resentment with high oxytocin. This is why gratitude journals work. This is why, that honeymoon phase, they're bad habits. Because you're high, you're literally on drugs, oxytocin drugs. Resentment kills connection, okay? But the opposite is also true. Passion, which is produced from high oxytocin, kills resentment. It brings feelings of love and connection. This is why this is powerful. It means we are in control. It means we can control how we feel, whether we feel resentment and fear or not, anxiety or love, connection, groundedness. Okay, if we've got high oxytocin, that's what we will feel, connection and love. We can choose our physical and energetic state, and that is so powerful. Okay, I just have one more concept to share with you that women are responsible for. This is incredibly powerful. I learned this from Tony Robbins many years ago, and it landed with me because I was doing the 3 C's. And this is where I encourage you to look at self-responsibility. Women are freaking experts at these 3 things, and it is men's kryptonite. This is how we destroy the fabric of our relationships, not just with men, with women as well. The 3 C's. This is how we sabotage. Criticism. It starts with self. We are so critical of ourselves that this energetically, if it's not happening verbally, even energetically, our partner automatically feels criticized to the degree that we continually criticize ourselves. But I know to be true is a lot of women verbally criticize constantly as well. They just keep sharing all the things that are wrong that he's not doing right. Okay. Energy inspires love. Radiant, accepting, flowing grace inspires love, not criticism. The masculine is highly, highly sensitive to feedback. The masculine connects complaints with us not being happy. This is, again, a difference between men and women. And we laugh about this in my relationship. When I do bring a complaint forward that I feel like needs to be discussed, and I try and choose the right moment and I do all that, I have to be sensitive to the fact that he automatically thinks that I'm unhappy if I do that. For a woman, she can separate. I'm actually generally happy in the relationship. In fact, I'm really happy. I just didn't like this one thing that you did. Men are unable to separate it. We have to verbally separate it for them. Because remember, a man's number 1 complaint is she is never happy. And I'll tell you how that turns out after years of you never being happy, or his perception that you're not happy. A masculine man will leave because he failed and he's sick of failing. A feminized man who doesn't have the self-worth to leave will stay, but he will energetically leave the relationship. You will feel that he's not present, connected, the love will leave. He may stay, but that connection is gone. So a masculine man needs to feel successful and needed. And criticism constantly jeopardizes that. So when we don't love ourselves, and another thing around a man being successful is when we don't love ourselves and it means that we constantly reject our partner's love. You can receive the degree of love that you feel for yourself. And I know many of you will resonate with this, the amount of love you've rejected through your years because you don't feel worthy of it. Even though this is not your intention, a man feels like he's failing to love you. So a lack of emotional freedom as a woman will strangle the life from your relationships. It is a misconception that men lose freedom when they enter a relationship. A man in his divine masculine accesses freedom when he is with a woman who is free in her emotional being. When we are not free, we strangle the life from our relationship. We criticize, we control, we're inflexible. It's not sexy and it is not fun. Most importantly for ourselves, we lose self-trust and inner freedom, right? This is so important. Lack of trust in ourselves leads to needy behavior, constantly needing to be recognized, validated, to feel safe, to be seen rather than just seeing ourselves. Needy is not. I'm just giving examples of how this can show up. That is a lack of self-trust. Because if you trusted yourself, you wouldn't be in a relationship that you couldn't trust. It's incredibly unattractive to a man, a woman who isn't confident and needy, and it's freaking exhausting. You feel unsafe to be around. You feel unsafe to be around because you don't feel safe in yourself. The masculine needs freedom. Now, as I said, when he's with an emotionally free woman, it allows him to access his feelings, which actually causes him to feel free. It causes a decrease in attraction and passion. One of the mantras that I recommend that you adopt if it feels good to you is be the place your partner goes to feel free. Be the place he goes to access the freedom that is hard for a masculine to access because he's not in direct relationship with his feelings. And there's also, just on that note, if you want to go down the rabbit hole, there's a big minus to the society's expectations that men should get more in touch with their feelings. It can actually be very damaging to the masculine, and that can be sometimes what is creating the volatile masculine or the toxic, which, by the way, if we're going to label men as toxic, we have to be willing to look at our own toxicity too. I don't agree that that's one-sided or a term that we should really validate. Okay, so this is a big one. And I just, again, want to acknowledge that this could be triggering for some women. And I want to acknowledge that almost all women have some kind of sexual trauma, whether it's just been present and the recipient of some kind of trauma. One thing I do want to say on that is healing is your responsibility, and paying for that person's transgressions is not your partner's responsibility. Does that land? It is your responsibility to heal. And for as long as you remain the victim, you keep letting those people, those men, the society, whatever it is that you feel has violated you in some way, you continue to let them win for as long as you stay the victim and don't move into healing. And for as long as you make your partner responsible simply because he is a man, you will continue to create a divide in your relationship. So sex as a transaction is something that women do a lot. They withhold sex for punishment. Massive disconnection creator in your relationship. I challenge you to look at that and to stop doing that. Men feel love and emotion through sex. So women need to feel loved in order to truly surrender to intimacy. This is why, again, women can tell themselves that they want one-night stands, but it actually doesn't align with our biology, because truly to feel deep intimacy and connection and have, we need to biologically. And this is the polarity of men and women. Again, we need to feel loved in order to open up, and men aren't conscious of the ways that they could be doing that a little bit better. But men, and so we withhold. You're not making me feel loved, seen, and heard, so I'm going to punish you and withhold you. But he can't access his love and connection without you opening up. So the divide gets bigger. We withhold, he forgets how much he loves you. You will notice, can certainly notice in all my relationships, that the mushy, loving, like the deepest loving moments that I receive, that I'm a recipient of, whether it's through words or actions, is after lovemaking. It's when they're most open and they're connected to their feelings. When your heart closes, write this down. When your heart closes, the masculine closes. And it's science. So don't hate me for delivering this information. Affair proofing your marriage is your responsibility. Your openness is key to higher states of love, spirituality. He feels his spirituality through you, oftentimes. Passion and desire. When you're not present, when you close off, you're not sharing your radiance. And your radiance is what is so compelling and alluring and addictive to a man. And if he's not getting it from you, he can't channel his sexual energy to you. And it's not to say he will cheat, but when a man is satiated and addicted to the sensuality that you create in your relationship, he's fully fulfilled. He has no need outside of that. On that note, I want to share as well, because obviously society is really setting us up to fail here. Pornography is running rampant. You can have your own values and beliefs around that. That's completely fine. Me personally, it's a non-negotiable for my relationships that's a no. Men who masturbate and watch pornography drive up their estrogen. Sex with a real life woman that he loves is testosterone. Like it actually reduces testosterone after he ejaculates, but it's testosterone building that dynamic. A man who is addicted to pornography is feminizing himself and his biology. And not only that, he is focusing his sexual energy on women that he's a woman or women that he's not present with. And so when men can retrain their minds to focus their sexual energy on the woman he's with, that's when you can just amplify love, connection, and intimacy to a whole nother level. And women want to feel, even if this is not the truth we've been trained with, biology says that we need to feel that safety, that we are the center of his attention in order to fully open and surrender. So here's some relationship mantras that you can put into play along this, the criticize, control, and closing off. Nothing good comes from closing. No relationship is perfect. When I'm locked in a challenge with my partner, we have an agreement that whoever is the most resourced has the responsibility to go first. And there is so many times that this mantra has come into my head because I often, will go into shutdown mode if I'm not happy. It's one of the ways we tell them you've done something wrong is to give them the cold shoulder. And then I hear this in my head, nothing good comes from closing. And when I go first and I reconnect with him and I show up with love and understanding and forgiveness and grace, he then gets into a place where he fully is able to receive my challenge or frustration, which is communicated in a loving way. And then he responds with so much love. Now, we don't always get it right, but for the most point, we do. We actively protect each other from harm. Now, that goes without saying physically, but emotionally. How often, and for those of you who have been on my coaching call around mapping your cycle, typically in your autumn season is when you will say and do things that burn your relationship down. You say things that feel good now, but are terrible, terrible ideas for later. Actively protect yourself and your relationship from harm in how you speak, how you show up. And another one is I am his sanctuary. If you ask men what they desire most in a relationship, it's not a sex goddess, it's not a pin-up girl, it's peace. And that's ironically is one thing that we take away from men consistently if we look at our responsibility. So replace the 3 C's with fun, flexible, playful, soft, surrender, sanctuary. And the thing, when I say those words, how do they make you feel? Because you first and foremost are the priority. When I say criticize, control, and close off, my whole body goes into revolt. When I say fun, flexible, playful, soft, surrender, like I am in my highest self. It feels good for me. When I learned flexibility and surrender and grace and emotional freedom, I'm the ultimate winner. I shift, everything around me shifts. All right, we're going to wrap this up now. So to cap it off, men need to feel needed, okay? If he does not feel needed, as I said, he'll eventually leave physically or emotionally. Women need to feel that they are not alone. They need to feel supported, cherished, safe, and seen. And there's some really simple things. And guys, like ladies, set your man up to win. If he needs to put a reminder in his phone to message you or to tell you you're beautiful, that's not a minus. That's bonus points that he's willing. He's single focused. When he's at work, he's not able to think about those things if he's stressed or has a lot on his plate. Set him up to win. My partner has a reminder in his phone and it still works just the same. My oxytocin is boosted just as much. Stop testing him and setting him up to fail. Now, applying all this to business, get your oxytocin stores high throughout your month so that you can show up energized with your cup full. Know that in being in service to others is going to help you feel good, that emotional revenue that women thrive on. It is food for our soul. If you're not feeling lit up in life, chances are it's because you're not focused on any service. You're in survival mode and in self-suffering mode where you're in your head in suffering states which are focused on self. I'm not enough. I'm not pretty enough. He doesn't love me. Why did this person do this to me? I can't believe my girlfriend didn't call me. Like self-suffering cycle. When you focus on oneness and connection, dropping into your heart, being feminine, being of service to others, you are living in a state of connection and you can't be in those cycle thoughts. You can drop in and out of those states, but learn self-awareness to recognize when you're being self-focused and breathe back into your heart and live in service to others. And that includes living in service to yourself. There is scheduled time in my diary that nobody gets into. I have enough self-worth to hold that space, and I know that I deliver in so many ways outside of that space that I don't even need to ask for permission. Be strong in your boundaries. The depth of peace you feel within yourself will be equal to the depth of peace you feel within your relationships. When you access peace and joy within, your partner is going to be the beneficiary of that. Are going to be the beneficiary. And most importantly, you are going to be the beneficiary of that. And that is the goal. And that is a win-win for everyone. So I can't wait to, has there been any questions? If anyone has to jump off, that's fine. If you had an important question or aha moment, then please just copy and paste it again, because it's hard to go back through all of these. If you felt triggered or challenged, I also encourage you to share, because I'm happy to own that and maybe have a conversation around that. Need to stop keeping score. Honestly, the minute we start keeping score is the minute, like, again, we completely damage the fabric of our relationship. And it's human nature. It's a natural thing that a woman does. But, you know, as I said, set him up to win so that he's just killing it on the scoreboard. Another thing we have, here's another tip that we implemented in our relationship. So I'm a high functioning person. I have a home that, like, I have a cleaner come 3 times a week because my environment screams at me. And this is how I set myself up for success in business. Once I've dropped the kids at school and I've had my time, I'm in business mode. I can't be cleaning dishes and doing laundry and function as I do with such a big business. I need support systems. So one of the ways I support myself is having a cleaner so that my environment stops screaming so that I can focus on business. right? And it also allows me to transition into my feminine when my partner comes home, because I'm not annoyed by the dirty washing and all the things that make me tense and frustrated, right? I'm totally in my feminine. In fact, when our cleaner went away, her mother passed away, she went away for about 4 months. It was the most testing time in our relationship. He got to see the worst version of me because I was just frazzled all the time. I had so many balls in the air. So set yourself up for success. But men are much more relaxed, and my partner runs a business also, and we're in this big, beautiful home. There's a lot to be done. We have a huge yard. We've got 3/4 of an acre, and I'm very house proud. And so one thing men don't like to have happen, what feels like nagging, is constantly reminding them of things they need to do, right? Now, on my side of the fence, well, I should be able to tell you that I need this done without you cracking the shits over it. And his perspective is like, he should be able to just do it in his time and not feel nagged. So we came up with a strategy to create, ease and flow there. And so we have a whiteboard in our kitchen, and I don't ask him anymore. I just write on the board what needs to be done. And we also have a little battery picture. And if my love tank feels empty, I don't nag at him and tell him he's been doing a bad job. I just get a little red marker and put an empty on it. And that's his reminder, like, oh, okay. And he just does the check-in. Have I told her she's beautiful? Have I sent her a message? Like he just does the self-check. So there's no criticism. There's no nagging. He feels like a man when he gets those things done. He's like, I did all these things that were on the whiteboard, right? And so we're both getting our needs met in a way that feels good to us. It's a win-win. Now we can sit here and say, we should be able to ask without them feeling like that. That's not serving anyone, right? Men are who men are. Like, we can either battle it for the rest of our lives and create friction forever, or we can just surrender to it and create ways of being that form deeper connection and intimacy, and that respects the nature of both the feminine and masculine. When he gets home from work, I let him have some time to himself whilst a million things need to be done. It takes some real surrender and commitment to do that, right? Because the woman is thinking, I've been at home all day with these goddamn kids and it's your turn, right? That's like what we want to, but it's like, let him give to him and you get what you give, right? So it's about both winning. How can it be? This is the question you want to ask yourself through any challenge or any inner conflict. How can this be a win-win? Not how can I get what I need, not resenting him for you giving him what he needs. How can this be a win-win? And within 10 minutes of time to himself, he is present and helping. Game changer. See, you get what you want because you're willing to give. And the thing is women typically are more emotionally aware and intelligent. So typically we do need to go first. And if you just make peace with that and know it's because you're the more emotionally intelligent, typically sex, then it makes sense that you would, right? Totally. What time of the day is the best to have a serious talk with men? Every man will be different. Definitely not when he walks through the door. My partner despises and this is one of our challenges still to navigate, is when we go to bed is when I feel like I finally have a moment to share how I've been feeling or just share about my day. Because, 4 kids, it's busy. For him, that is like the worst time because then he can't sleep. He just wants to relax. So what I've learned to do is like, hey, let him know it's not a big deal. If you say we need to talk, he's already terrified, right? Say, hey, when have you got 5 minutes? I just want to run something by you. It's not a big deal. And then let him tell you when it's a good time. But then you have to respect that. Now, on the other side of things, teaching him that if you're in an emotionally unresourced state where you need to be held and that he shows up for you in those moments, then you're willing to give him that space and show up when he's ready to talk, right? So it's meeting each other in the middle. It's teaching him how to hold space and allowing him to when you need him. And then on the flip side, if you have something that you need to share and get off your heart, and make it playful and lighthearted, like tell him, I just need you to hear me. It doesn't make me, this is what I say to my partner, it doesn't make me right or wrong, and it doesn't make you right or wrong. I just need to share how it made me feel so that you're aware. And I don't need you to validate me that I'm right. I just need to know that you've heard me and that you validate my perspective. Just be the trash can and just let me blurt it all out, because I can't relax. I can't sleep until I get this out of my body. It feels heavy to a woman. Using words lightens the load. So again, it's just him understanding the need for you to do that, and that you don't need him to do anything but to just hold space. Beautiful. Lots of aha moments. Teach, if you have girls, if you have boys, start teaching them this stuff. Teach your girls to respect men, and also to respect and value themselves, and how to hold and conduct themselves. Because guess what? We're the ones with the power, right? We have what men crave. Men will behave the way that we command. The reason why men are so shitty on dating sites is because women show up for the behavior. Women allow the behavior. Women sew into the behavior. I have only been treated with respect in the dating game because of how I conduct myself. I command the respect, and the amount of times I've had men just blown away by the difference in my energy. They will verbally just be like, you're so different. When you know your worth, you behave accordingly, and then you attract better. So teach your boys how to respect women, and teach women, your girls, how to respect men and themselves, and vice versa. All right. Well, thank you so much. I don't think I've missed any questions. Lucy said the kids, they're not doing anything wrong, just being kids. How do you navigate? Okay, this is a great question. We'll finish on this one. One of the biggest conflicts is when he comes home and loses it at the kids. They're not doing anything wrong, just being kids. How do you navigate this without coming into conflict? So this might be a time where you might get the kids doing an outside activity. Maybe you do some art outside, have them help you with the cooking. Maybe it's their quiet time in their bedroom, and just encourage him to retreat to the man cave, because he just needs to boost his testosterone and bring his stress levels down. Because I resonate to this, particularly when I started building my business. There was so much noise in my head, so much noise, not only business noise, but my self-doubt, my inner conflict, that anything the kids did was like an explosion in my head. And I recognized that they weren't being naughty. They were just being kids, but they were competing with the stress levels in my body. And so just that awareness alone has helped me to just, when I feel that, I'm like, okay, hang on, just stop, breathe, inner pause. They're not doing anything wrong. I need to self-resource right now. What do I need in this moment? I need to remove myself. My kids are old enough. Take myself to my bedroom, create a quiet moment, and just quieten my mind. He needs the same. Let him go to the man cave. Just communicate with him. What do you need? Is it 10 minutes, 20 minutes? What is it? I'm going to keep the kids busy in that time. And then when you're ready, come out and just be present with the family and try it on. I'd be interested to see if it's a game changer. But he's been dealing with stress all day at work. I'm making assumptions here. And then he's coming home to what feels like a high energy environment, when his whole body just needs to go into shutdown mode so that he can come back into that masculine present side of him. Awesome. Oh, thank you so much for joining me. I just want to let you guys know that next week we actually are changing the schedule a little bit with the 3 transmissions, because we didn't realize we have some company filming to do that day. So I'm going to have Anthony Golay come on and do some super conscious coaching, which is game changer. So you guys are going to get a bonus session. And then the following week, we're going to do the recode with Kimberly. And then the following week, we're going to do the health chat. Okay. So start thinking about any questions you have around health, because we want to be on to serve. Thank you so much, everyone. Have the most incredible day. And I look forward to hearing how this serves you. Thanks, everyone.